Hello Nippies, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Nips, a freelance artist, and today we are going to be working on a commission that I got a while ago of Beastars, Haru, and Legoshi. For those of you that have been kind of keeping track of this piece, you'll know that not only has it taken a long time, but it's taken a long time for me to bring out the speed paint because I did finish this a couple weeks ago. So your speed paint is finally here. And so this piece is actually a commission for GB ASMR, which you should totally check out. She's a huge friend of the channel. This piece was inspired by the opening of Beastars, the first one called Wild Side. And in the original opening, you'll see them kind of dancing in the sun, really bright, really happy. The song is absolutely amazing. We looped it several times on stream in order to really just feel the vibe, feel the mood. And ever since starting the show, I really liked the opening, and I felt like I really wanted to capture that kind of timeless moment, like paused in the middle of a spin in the middle of the dance. And so you'll see in the top right I have like the references screenshotted from the actual opening, and I did try to keep it as close as possible while still kind of injecting my style into it. We had some complications as the piece went through. There was a point in the stream, because I streamed a lot of this, where I lost about 3 to 6 hours worth of work, and it was pretty cool that it was on stream. I don't know if cool is the right word. It was pretty fortunate. It's pretty fortunate that it was done on stream, because not only did we catch Adobe Photoshop in 4K, because I did save the document, it still didn't save. I reopened the file and all of the work was gone. And so I basically had to redo everything that I did on stream. Thankfully, what we were working on was line art. One of the viewers helped me get a screenshot of the VOD, and then I just traced over my own work essentially. So there was definitely that, and I was so upset because this piece had already been taking me so long. One of the reasons this piece really took me long was because I'm not someone who draws like furries often, if ever. Like I always say, I'm still working on like practicing my shapes and dimensions and stuff. And furries a lot of the time really test my ability to get shapes correctly, because they're shapes that I'm not familiar with. So I truly have to put my knowledge to the test in order to get them to look right. And for someone like Haru specifically, her face is so cute in the show, but I just could not get her to look right for the longest time. And you'll see me here finally kind of getting to a place where she actually looks kind of cute. And my art style in general, even with humans, it's really hard for me to draw something very cute and round and just very like, I don't even know what to call it, just cute things. I'm not very good, because usually they're very round, and like I said, I'm not good with like shapes, and I think round things, my brain just stops working, because at least with angular things I can kind of draw lines to figure out where they go, but with round things it's just, you just gotta like draw a bunch of curves and figure it out where it is, and I don't know why my brain just stops working when it's that. A lot of this piece was struggling with the lighting as well. So you'll see here we start doing the lines, and I think later here is where I actually start losing the file, but the lines usually I don't have a problem with. I really enjoy the line art process. It's pretty therapeutic for me. I've always enjoyed lines. Actually, not always. Let me rephrase that. For the most part, I usually enjoy lines, because I do remember a time where I didn't enjoy them until, you know, you kind of find a method and you find your own style, and then you kind of, you know, things change. So for a lot of this piece, my struggle wasn't really the lines, it was the coloring. And I've always said this, my coloring and my color theory is not very good. My values, for the most part, are sometimes what carry my piece, but my color choices are just atrocious. I was really struggling to get the vision that I had in my head on paper, because I knew what I wanted, but my color theory just wasn't good enough to execute that. I am very proud of how the piece turned out, and I'm honestly blown away at how good the reception was on Twitter. My pieces like never go viral on Twitter, like ever, and I'm not even sure 22K likes is viral. I don't know what's considered viral, but my pieces usually never get that much traction ever, and so it was really just so flattering, and so I felt so happy that people really liked it, because I was feeling really hard on myself when I finished it. Like, I was proud that I finished it and that I got through it and that I pulled through, but I wasn't as happy as I thought I could have been, because I felt like I ruined the vision. And not to say that people's reception kind of changed my mind on that, because that's like, oh yeah, well, I get external validation and now all of a sudden like I don't hate my art. But it was more like, I do still believe that the piece could have been better, but it kind of reminded me to stop being like so hard on myself, you know? Not that external validation should do that per se, but it does sometimes like help to hear people say, you know, like, it looks good, like keep going, like you're okay, you don't have to be that hard on yourself. So I don't know, yeah, definitely my perspective changed a little bit, where yeah, I could have done better, but also you finished, you did good, relax. I am very happy, especially with her dress and her skirt. One of the things that I really struggle with is clothing folds. Her dress and like skirt area was something that I was super proud of, because I really wanted this kind of natural like lift and spin where it didn't look super, I'm not sure what the word is, but I didn't want it to look super polished. I don't know if polished is the right word, or like artificial. I wanted it to like feel like natural, you know, like you're in the middle of a spin and it's like folding at certain parts and then some not, like it's not uniform, you know, it doesn't look like a copy paste pattern, if that makes any sense. And not only that, but it had to be dynamic, because she was like moving and spinning. So that part was something that I was very proud of, because normally something like that I'd be very bad at. You'll see me here just finally finishing up the sketch and trying to like get the whole line art and the piece done. A lot of the times when I do these really big pieces, I tend to go from part to part, from step to step. Normally if it's a smaller drawing, I will just do straight sketch, all the line art, all the color, etc, etc. But when the illustration is this big, sometimes I just get really stuck. Like I just reach a block, and so I have to move to another part of the piece, even if it's in a different step. And I think I've had this question asked several times times. You haven't finished a sketch, why are you doing lines? Or you haven't finished the lines, why are you doing color? And it's because momentum, especially for me, and I suffer with severe ADHD, which thankfully I'm medicated now, but the momentum like breaks me. Like if I break the momentum, like it's really hard for me to like keep going. And so I try to make sure that I keep it flowing, even if that means jumping through the piece a lot. It'll help me with motivation, and like it doesn't demoralize me if I really hit a roadblock and I just won't move on until I fix it. Here you'll see me kind of tracing my own work. This is around the time that Photoshop just did not save anything. So you'll see me basically tracing over the dress, tracing over the face. And this part, I was absolutely so tilted. I think something like colors would have maybe upset me more, because lines are just traceable. Like I can just retrace my lines. But with colors, I have to do the flat colors, the shading, the color picking. That would have kind of tilted me. 100% if this was not on stream, I would have dropped the piece for like another 2 months, because I wouldn't have had any record of what I drew. And considering how much I lost, which was about 3 to 6 hours, I probably wouldn't even have wanted to finish the piece, even though I know I would have, just because this is a commission. But I definitely would have been tilted off the face of the earth for a couple weeks. So thankfully all of the stars aligned and this was able to get finished regardless. I am very proud of the lines. I do absolutely love how she is coming out, how Legoshi's face is coming out. I think that in this piece, I really wanted their connection to be everything is moving around them basically, and their face is like still but not at the same time. I wanted there to be a lot of movement but also stillness. It's like when you're like doing the spin and it's like a moment in time where it's like going super slow motion, but you can feel the movement even in slow motion, if that makes any sense. And that's really what I wanted. I don't know if I captured it in the end, but that was kind of the vibe, the energy for this piece. There were a lot of things that I learned during the making of this piece, and one of them was that I hadn't updated my Photoshop in 3 years. You heard it here. I hadn't updated my Photoshop in 3 years. And the reason I say this is because while I was working on the piece, the drawing file was humongous. And you'll see me flipping the canvas, not just in this piece or in this video, but in pretty much every drawing I've ever done, I flip the canvas a lot. But what happens is that Photoshop, because I hear that it was like a new edition that they made because Photoshop used to not have this, you would have to flip the entire canvas horizontal. So you're essentially changing the orientation of the entire canvas, not just how it looks, but the actual files. So if your file is huge and you have a lot of folders, Photoshop has to change the orientation of all of that. And so the more that you do it as the piece goes on, your computer just starts to lag, depending on how powerful your computer is. It just starts to lag. And so this piece was so big that it was just lagging like every time that I flipped it. And somebody in chat was telling me, well, you can make it so that it's only the view. Like you can flip the view. So it doesn't flip the canvas, it just flips how you're seeing it. So it doesn't actually have to flip all your layers or anything, just how you see it. And this is a thing that Paint Tool Sai has, which for those of you that have used that program, you'll know that if you flip there, it's had that feature for a long time. And a lot of us used to use that program more because it wouldn't lag because it had that feature. And because I hadn't updated my Photoshop in 3 years, I didn't know that apparently they added that feature to Photoshop. And this whole time I've had a subscription to Adobe, but I had it on auto update and I thought that it would just auto update like every time that I used Photoshop. Thankfully, on stream, I updated Photoshop and I finally got the feature. It was just such smooth sailing. It felt so good. So if you haven't actually gone in and manually updated your Photoshop, go do it, because I know that a lot of us flip our canvases and it will take a huge toll off your computer if you set it to flip the view rather than the whole canvas. The next thing is the smart object, which was another thing that I pretty sure learned during this piece. And turning things into smart objects allows you, I think I did it either for this piece or the izakaya piece, which was the Anya Pim one at the ramen shop. And that's just creating basically files within files, which makes it easier to work on big documents without like killing your computer. And so you can turn your folders and groups within your file into these things called smart objects. And that way you can work on them in a more organized fashion and you can lighten the load on your computer. So if you haven't played with that, I definitely highly recommend. So you'll see a lot of like groups and things split up on my layers on the side. You'll see me where now we've already passed the flat colors and we've passed the line art. We've added a sample background because the background isn't done yet. I just kind of put a placeholder one just to kind of see how it looks. And I kind of... I did forget to actually mention this at the beginning. The process for this one was very similar to the ramen piece that I did. And I'll link that one in the top right or in the description down below so you guys can check it out. I'll do a quick TLDR, but when I do pieces this big, I will do like the thumbnails and then blow up the sketch and then do sample colors. So you'll probably remember at the beginning of this piece, I had colors before I even did any lines or anything. And it's because I need to know where the piece is going before I start adding lines and flat colors and all of that, because if I'm gonna put that much time into the lines and everything else, I need to make sure that I know where I'm going, because if not, then I kind of lose my way and things just kind of get out of control. So it's just a good way to keep a vision in mind and just head towards there. You might kind of swerve as you head towards the goal and find new methods. As I told you, you know, we updated Photoshop, we did the smart objects. I even discovered that you can blur a smart object without ruining your layers and stuff. So you can learn things along the way and experiment. But if you have a goal in mind, like a general vision, then it's easier to experiment but still make it there. Here you'll see me start like struggling with the colors. And so sometimes when I struggle with color picking, I will swap over to black and white. And I'll usually just put a layer on top and do a layer property called color, and I'll fill it in white. So it basically just makes it grayscale. And so what that'll do is I'll be able to shade it in black and white without needing to color pick but still preserve my layers. So you'll see on the right where I'm doing like shadow work, but it's still in black and white. So I'm just focusing on the values. And I still think the values still have some trouble. I wasn't able to really clutch it out with those either. But what happens too when you paint in black and white is that when you put color over it, it doesn't necessarily always translate. So you can use it as a guide, but then you have to compensate with good color choices and then paint on top of the values, because the values, adding like the color layer on top of the values isn't always accurate. So you have to like go in and make sure that you adjust that as well. Sometimes like not only were my base values not too good, my color picking is already pretty bad. So I was definitely struggling on getting the proper colors that I needed to get in order to make this look good. You'll see me here adding the butterflies from the show. I'm not very good at drawing these, so I was kind of stressed out that I wasn't going to be able to get them to look dynamic or detailed enough or pretty. So I'm honestly kind of proud of how they turned out, all things considered. Here I'm doing the borders. I actually really enjoy doing this. If you've seen me do big illustrations, you've probably seen me do this several times. And adding a border on top of your line art, I usually name it B, you'll see there on the right, basically separates your kind of, not dimensions, but your planes, your depth. So things that are on top or behind each other will stick out more. And usually when I do it at first, I'll use like a very light color so that I can see where I'm drawing, and then you can change the color around, make it very subtle. You can blur it too, so it's not super obvious. And it really just helps to separate things, because a lot of the times if you're drawing and your values could also maybe not be very good, then this will definitely help you. And because my values and color choices are usually not very good, this will kind of help me push things apart rather than them blending together, which is usually what happens to me. So if you notice, a lot of the things that have borders, if you try to picture them without borders, they'd probably just blend together. So yeah, that was definitely super helpful. Here you'll see me finally tackling the background. I was happy with the butterflies, happy with kind of where the colors were going for Haru and Legoshi. I tried to add some textures very subtly so that we can get at least a texture difference from the foreground and the background. I am not good at painting backgrounds, and it is going to be very apparent here. I blurred it a lot, and not on purpose to cover it, but I just really like when I'm drawing very in the moment things, not even just in art, but in photography as well, which is its own art, obviously. I really like heavily blurred backgrounds, and then like the extreme focus on the foreground is one of my guilty pleasures, and so I was going to blur it either way, details or not. Thankfully, I didn't have to try too hard with the background because I knew I was gonna blur it. But I do have to practice so that if there ever comes an instance where I don't have to blur it, then I can execute what it's going to look like properly. We are reaching the final parts of the piece. That's the highlights, the color adjustments, the color burn, making sure that the piece really pops. And a lot of the times, I don't remember where I heard this trick, and I think it was many, many years ago, but if you want to know if your piece looks, I don't know if good is the word I'd use, but I guess we'll just use it here because I can't think of another one right now. But if you wanted to see if it looks good or readable, maybe I guess is the word, you zoom out really, really far. It's easier for you to see like the values, the silhouettes, the composition, the color balancing. And so you'll see me do that several times where I just like do an extreme zoom out. And even just here when I'm adjusting the colors, adding the gradient maps, kind of warping it and everything, you'll see me still working pretty zoomed out as it is. As of late, and when I say as of late, I mean the last couple years, I have been working very zoomed out. And as I got older, I don't know what happened, but I've lost the ability to work zoomed in. I just cannot do it. It's very difficult for me to zoom in and work. The only way that I can do it is if I've already cemented the area zoomed out, but even then, it's almost impossible for me to zoom in and actually work. The reason for that is that I need to see the picture as a whole. Like I need to see how my lines are affecting the picture as a whole as I do them. And so you'll notice a lot of you that come to stream or my recent speed paints, I am usually zoomed out. So if I need to fix the quality of the lines, normally I'll like zoom in and tweak it a little bit, but in general, most of it zoomed out. So here you're finally seeing the end, the highlights, the little sparkles from the butterflies, the color dodges, the color burns, the motion blurs. This is where we're really getting towards the late stages, finishing touches of the piece. And I am very, very happy with the piece. I am pretty proud of everything that I learned, the fact that I even finished it to begin with, the fact that I had to redo a huge chunk of it, the fact that I was given the opportunity to do it in the first place, and just how much everybody loved it too really warmed my heart. So thank you to everyone who also gave me such amazing comments and messages on Twitter and on TikTok about it. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'm sorry that the speed paint came so late. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, join the Nippy family. The more, the merrier. I'll go ahead and put the links of the original finished piece on Twitter, and I'll have the links to my 18+ comic down as well, which is what I've been working on, and it's why I've been kind of on hiatus. And yeah, I will see you guys next video. Bye.